Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. A couple of things that you need to know. First of all, like I've said many, many times, these are normally filmed on a Tuesday, occasionally a Wednesday, a lot of the time a Monday. So if you want to guarantee to get your question asked, try to get it in as soon as possible. If you leave it till later in the week, it will be missed. If I miss your question, I'm very sorry. Just leave it down below and I'll get to it next week. Second of all, you're getting my raw, unfiltered opinions, not researching this ahead of time. So if you want to see, if I read a question and I think it's going to take too long to answer, it will form the basis of a future video. That's also something you need to know. Two more things. First of all, I'm still in Blackpool here at the Airbnb because Ryland's performing with Thea at the House of Secrets every night. So this is not the normal studio. Hope that doesn't affect your enjoyment. I am making sure that the video does not freeze and be answering the questions in a slightly different way. So I won't have to go off this screen. So hopefully that won't be annoying. And then finally, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning into the Q&A. Any video that you tune into this week, it's very hard to put this together. It would be so much easier for me not to bother doing these videos while I'm on the road this month, but I do them because of you guys watching them, and it means the world to me. So thank you very much. But with that in mind, we're going to get straight to it this week with another Q&A. Let's get to the first question. Okay, so the first question is from Moshibra, who says, "Hey Craig, hey, how you doing? I'm curious to hear what your opinion is on magicians who do the following. I was recently speaking to a professional performer, and I'm a hobbyist. He knows that about me, and I always recommend him things I've seen that I think would be good for his show, and he gets them, and then we continue talking, and I ask him, how do you do that thing I saw you do on stage? Okay, and then we continue talking, and I ask him, hey, how do you do that thing that I saw you do on stage? And he suddenly becomes all secretive and says, oh, that's magic. And it's super upsetting that I've been so open with him, and he knows I'm a magician, but a hobbyist, so he gets all proud and macho that he's a live performer. Let me know if you get what I'm saying and what you think about this. Right, okay, I understand what you're saying. So this is a guy that you're friends with, and you talk about magic all the time, and you've seen something in his show, and you've asked him about it, and he's not telling you where that is from, right? First of all, yeah, I totally get that. That's very annoying. The reason that a lot of people get into magic is because they want to know the secrets, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do. There's many times that I've bought tricks, and the only reason I bought them is I want to know how it's done. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. How does that work, right? And look, there is, and it shouldn't happen, but there is in this industry this whole kind of looking down thing, and it happens an awful lot. You know, like magicians will look down on kids entertainers, stage performers look down on close-up magicians, illusionists look down on stage performers, pros look down on hobbyists. Pretty much everyone looks down on mimes. You know, there's that whole thing that happens in the industry, which is a shame because we're a brotherhood. And when you go to places like the Blackpool Magic Convention, that doesn't happen. Unfortunately, you do see that from time to time, that you do see that there's certain full-time professional magicians that think they're better because they do this for a living. In all honesty, I've said this before on the channel, some of my favorite performers of all time are hobbyists. You know, people like John Bannon, for example. They don't make a living doing magic. You know, they do something else, and magic is kind of a hobby for them. And I think that here's the thing, and I've said this before on the channel, if you're a full-time pro, you have to make certain sacrifices. There's certain tricks that you might not like, but you put them into your act because you know they're going to get a good reaction. There's certain tricks that maybe you gravitate towards, but if they don't fit your character or your persona or the environment in which you perform in, you're just not going to be able to do them. Whilst as an amateur, as a social performer, you get the luxury of doing anything. So if this is a situation where this guy's looking down on you, then yes, that's super annoying, and that would really piss me off, and that's terrible, and it does happen in the industry. Just playing devil's advocate, there might be a few reasons why he's actually done this. So, for example, I've had stuff in my show in the past that I'm not allowed to talk about. I'm not allowed to actually say anything about it. Now, I've got a piece that's in my show right now that I've promised the person who created it with me or for me that I would never post a video of it on social media. I'd never talk about it on Magic TV. And if you came and watched one of my shows and you see me perform it, I would say to you, hey, I can't really tell you anything about it, because that was part of the deal when he created it for me. And there's nothing I can do about that. It might be the case that, I've seen tricks in the past where you have to sign an NDA. Like, I remember a lottery trick that came out a little while ago that you had to sign an NDA in order to buy the trick, and you couldn't literally talk about it or talk about method or anything like that. It might be that it's something that he's developed for his own show and he doesn't want it getting out. So there's stuff that in the past that people have seen me perform, and they'll say to me, oh my gosh, that's amazing, how's it done? And it's going to be due for release in like a couple of years' time, and I can't talk about it because I have had in the past situations where I've told people at conventions about something, and then the next thing I've seen 3 months later, it's on the market and it's completely screwed everything up. So there's quite a few different reasons. It might be that it's a friend's it's somebody from a friend of his or hers that has created the trick, and he's promised them not to talk about it. There's a million different reasons why this could be the case. So you don't want to jump to the conclusion that your friend's being a dick, especially if you do talk about magic an awful lot. My advice would be to say to him, hey, look, we've been friends for a long time. We talk about magic. I've recommended stuff for you in the past that you've then put in your show. I may not make my living doing magic like you do, but we both love magic and we've talked magic. I don't understand why you won't tell me about this and you're treating me like somebody who doesn't deserve to know the secret. Is there a reason for that? And just ask the reason from the person and just say, hey, what's the reason? Don't jump to conclusions without actually knowing what it is, because there could be a million reasons as to why this happens. But it is super annoying. I totally get that. My advice is find a piece of magic that will blow his or her mind, show it to them, and then go, it's magic, and then see how he likes it. Okay, so the next question is from Yin How Magic, who says, hello, Greg. Do you have any advice for segue transitioning between effects during a show? I'm trying to build a stand-up show, but I don't want it to feel like I'm just doing one effect, say cups and balls, putting it away and bringing out another effect, say Rubik's Cubes. It feels disconnected. Thanks for everyone answering everyone's questions this week without fail. You're more than welcome. And it's a great question. How do you transition from one piece to the other? Well, really, there's many different ways that you can do it, but the easiest way to do it is either think about it from a presentational point of view, or if you want to connect the entire show, and if you want to think about how the entire show connects from one point to another, then you can have an overarching narrative. So, for example, and this is just off the top of my head, if you had a show that's literally all about time travel, and you are wearing a costume and whatever, and you're pretending you're a time traveler, now there's a very easy way to connect every element in the show, because now you have that overarching narrative, which is, I am a time traveler. So let's say you did a trick with a pack of cards. It could be that you're showing how people can go backward and forward in time. If you then bring out a chop cup, you could turn around and you could say, well, let's take this time travel thing to the next level. The ball's under the cup, right? But if I put the ball in my pocket and I travel back in time, it's back underneath the cup. So the process of bringing various props out are covered by the narrative of you trying to demonstrate that time travel is possible, right? In one of my companies, we have a dinosaur theme package, and that's how we keep the narrative going there, because we talk about how we're a dinosaur explorer, and the entire show is about teaching the kids, this is a kid show thing, teaching the kids how to actually be dinosaur explorers themselves. And so every single trick is linked towards that overarching narrative of, hey, I'm a dinosaur explorer, right? Another perfect example is somebody like Tom Crosby. Tom Crosby goes out as the performing nerd. So now it's a very simple link between effects. Now Tom's show is a lot more thought out than this. So I'm not trying to diminish anything Tom does, because he puts a lot of time and effort and thought into his show. It's not just a case of buying 6 or 7 tricks and then going, right, okay, I'll just put those together. But by calling yourself the performing nerd, it gives you a reason to bring out various props. This is a Rubik's Cube. A nerd would have a Rubik's Cube. Let me show you how to solve it. This is a Trivial Pursuits game. As a nerd, I've memorized all the answers, right? And so on and so forth. So the first way of doing this is to have an overarching narrative. The second way is to introduce something that happens at the end of the show, at the very, very beginning, which is a great way to do that because you're topping and tailing the show. And then everything that happens is leading up to that moment. So, and again, I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head, it might be that you bring out a prediction. And that prediction is there from the very, very beginning. And you say, right, I've got this prediction. I'm going to put it over here in this box. It's going to hang from here. Everything that's happening during the course of this show is going to lead into what's in that box. So now the transition between effects becomes part of the lead up to discovering what's in the box at the end of the show, if that makes sense. So that's another way you can do it, which is topping and tailing the show and having everything point towards that finale moment, right? The other thing that you can do is you can transition very, very simply from one effect to another. So for example, let's just say I've done something with coins. I've just done a whole coin set, right? I could then turn around and I could say, now the thing with coins is that's great, but not many people carry coins around with them these days. Most people carry paper money, right? So let's see if we can try and do this and take it to the next level and do it with money instead. Now you have a reason to go into another routine involving folding money because you're using the prop that you used previously as a jumping off point to then transition into what prop you're bringing out next. And then from money, you could say, well, these days, honestly, most people actually use credit cards. So now you're transitioning into credit cards, following the same narrative. And at the end of that, you could say, well, to be honest, these days, I don't even use credit cards. These days, I tend to just use my phone. Who here plays with their phone, right? That's the thing you do. Let's try and do something with our phone. So we've got this whole theme that's running all the way through, starting with money, going all the way to a phone, but we've got points in between that make sense as to why we're literally going from this trick to another trick. Now that's segueing or transitioning using a physical prop in the course of the routine. So we've talked about presentationally transitioning. We've talked about transitioning using physical props. You could actually transition using effects. So for example, you could, okay, this is an example of something that Ryland actually is doing in his show at the moment at the House of Secrets. His finale to the whole House of Secrets show is Spontus, where he brings his sister up and he floats her in the air and that's the end of the show, right? But the routine that he does before that is he does Amazing Balloon, which is the balloon levitation across the stage, and it's very, very beautiful. So he does that, and then he goes into the Spontus routine, right? And he's referenced Harry Potter. He's not doing a Harry Potter show. He's referenced Harry Potter earlier because the routine before the balloon thing is to do with Harry Potter, and he's talking about making something appear, and his favourite film is Harry Potter, and Harry Potter, his favourite spell is the Accio spell, which means the summoning spell, making something appear right in front of people's eyes, and he uses that as the premise for that routine. His presentation to transition to the next point is, now talking about Harry Potter, most people when they think about Harry Potter, they think about Wingardium Leviosa. Does anyone know what that is? Yes, that is the ability to make something float. Well, I can actually do that as well. Let me show you. And then he does the balloon thing. He bursts it at the end in a burst of confetti by talking about Bombastio. But then after that, he says, now I'd like to try one more thing. In the films, you can levitate anything. In the books, you can levitate anything, not just a balloon. If you think about a balloon levitating, the problem with the balloon is it's designed to float anyway, right? Especially if you put helium in it. But a person? How could you float a person? Well, let's try this. And he does the Spontus, but the Thea's holding on to the balloon, and as the balloon goes up, she goes up with a haunted balloon type thing, and it's Leviosa, it's the same sort of thing. So the point I'm trying to make is you can actually transition from one point into another by actually thinking about what the effect was beforehand. So you've just made a card rise to the top of the deck. Well, how could you then take that to the next level? Or you've just made coins appear. Well, then you could transition into something like instant cash to money and make folded money appear. You get the point. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't want to spend any more time on this. I think I've been going on about this for about 7 or 8 minutes. But hopefully that answers your question. But if you need more clarification, let me know. Okay, so the next question is James Highground Magic, who says, Craig, thanks for everything. You're more than welcome. Question, advice on managers, agents, or taking a show on the road by myself. Context. I have a show I just ran 3 times at the local Fringe Festival. Won an award for Artistic Inventor of the Year with it. Credit to you and John Allen for the source of my modified version of the destination box mistake in the show. Well, fantastic, that's great. Rave reviews, noteworthy accolades, etc. What is your advice on the next step, i.e. getting into comedy clubs, cabarets, local theatres in my region? Should I seek a PR firm, agent or manager? If so, advice there. Should I try it alone? Advice there. Thanks for all you do. Okay, this is a very big, meaty topic, right? And probably is better for a future video. So I'm going to try and be a bit succinct, give you a couple of minutes, but then we'll probably do a video in the future on working with agents and so on and so forth. So first of all, you've got a show. The show has had rave reviews. Fantastic. That is great. You now want to naturally take that show to the next level. You want to, you want to be performing it everywhere, and that absolutely makes sense, right? You're right. There's two ways of doing this, and the first way is going it alone, and the second way is getting help. In terms of getting help, it's very difficult to get into an agency. It's very difficult to get into. It's even harder to get into a management company, to have somebody manage you. It's possible, but it is very difficult. Whether you're working with an agent or a manager, remember that that company's end goal is to make money. They are a business. They are also going to have tons of acts on their books already. So they need to see something in you that will make them think, you know what, we can promote this person and we can use this person to make money. That's just the way it is with businesses. Businesses' end goal is to make money. So with that in mind, you want to make sure that if you're trying to get in with an agent, you're trying to get into with a manager, you want to try and have as much social proof as you can. Having the awards that you've got is great, but it is a local fringe festival. The people that are managing the Ben Harts of the world, for example, they are representing that. They've just been to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival where they've seen some of the biggest and best acts in the world. So you need to get as many accolades as you can. Like Cillian O'Connor got managed after going on Britain's Got Talent. So that's one way of doing it, get into the finals of Britain's Got Talent, and that might work. Another way of doing it is putting yourself out there, dominating social media, having a profile where everybody is talking about you. Everyone's talking about you. Everyone's talking about your act. Everyone's talking about how good you are. Try to get out there as much as possible. Go to every single fringe festival, not just a local fringe festival, but every single fringe festival. Go for the biggest ones. Go for the smallest ones. Go to Edinburgh. Find the money to go to Edinburgh for a month. Run your own show for a month. Work your ass off, flyering, giving out leaflets. Then contact agents and managers. Give them free tickets to come and watch the show. Say that you've got something innovative. You've got something different. You've got something that they're looking for. Look, it's very, very simple to get ahead in this industry and get on the radar of people that can help you. And the way you do it is you be so good that they can't ignore you. Just be everywhere. Be absolutely everywhere. Enter magic competitions. Win magic competitions. Like I remember Carl and Dave years ago, they got contracts with like tons of places because they won the comedy award at the IBM convention like a couple of years. They didn't win the whole thing, but they won the comedy award, and that was enough because they were a funny act, right? That's what you want to do. You want to get yourself out there, go out and get as many people as possible to help you, and then just dominate social media. Dominate everywhere. Like I say, that's the only thing I can do. Be so good that they can't ignore you. And that's the same if you're going it alone. If you want to go it alone, that's fine, but you're going to have to make all of these connections yourself. Go to networking events. Go to venues. Go to knock down doors of all of the different entertainment agencies, not just managers, but entertainment agencies. Put yourself out there as much as possible. Film every show. Put the videos up online. Let everyone see that you're working all of the time and you're really busy and you're out there and you're doing it. Get a following of people. Get a tribe of people that are following your every move. That's how you do it. How you want to go out there. I can see you've got the desire to go out there and be the best that you can be. You just want to push yourself. It's not a hard thing to do, right? Like Ryland and Thea, they're going out and they're performing every single day. A lot of people are talking about them And they're at school, and Ryland's 12 and Thea's 10. But all they're doing is they're just going out there and they're performing every single day. Ryland's posting all of the videos on his social media every day. He's putting photos on there. He's putting himself out there. He's going out and performing for free at places. It's most important for him that people see him and they see him perform and they see what he's capable of, because he knows that that way an opportunity is going to come his way. If you continue to work hard, if you continue to put 100% in, and if you continue to push yourself out there and you've got an act that you believe in, it won't be long before you be successful. But you've got to go out there and you've got to get people to know who you are. There's two types of people in this world. There's people who can make things happen, and there's people who watch things happen. Don't be the person that watches things happen. And it's very easy to do that. You know what? I was going to do this today, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to have a day off. I was going to do this today. Look at this. Like, why do so many people watch Magic TV? Why have I won so many awards as a creator? I'm not the poster boy for anything, right? The reason is I just work really hard at it. It would be so much easier for me to not film this video. It's currently like, 1 o'clock on a Tuesday. Ryland's performing at the House of Secrets tonight. My family have gone out with my wife and I'm here filming videos. But that's because I don't want to let people down. But it's also because I have a brand. And the brand is, people know that I'm reliable. They know that I'm going to put a video up every single day. If I don't do that, it won't make a difference one day, or won't make a difference the next day, but long term it will. So you've got to go out there. Great, you've got that. You've got the awards. You've got the accolades from this local fringe festival. Now, plan out what you can do next to be as visible as possible. Plan out what festivals you can do in 2026. Where can you go? Write a list of entertainment managers and entertainment agencies and find out where they are. Contact local PR companies and ask them if anybody will help you for free. Contact radio stations. Try and get on radio for free to promote something, anything. Hire your own village hall and try to get ticketed event going and sell tickets and really hustle and go on social media. Build up your profile. Just work hard, and you'll make it. The good news is it doesn't cost money. The bad news is it does cost time and effort. But not everybody will do it. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But it's not easy. If you want it, you can do it, but you got to have the right mindset. Okay, the next question is from Divisham Magician. So he says, can you give me some thoughts on this routine and some suggestions of more things I can add to the theme? I tell somebody I'm going to help them create their dream holiday. I have a blank Polaroid. Here, can I take a picture on your phone? And then they choose a place to go on holiday, and I force Paris. Then I say, okay, if you have to go there, you need euros, and I do a bill switch, changing a UK note into euros. Then, showing the bill empty, I roll it up and a mini Eiffel Tower falls out on it. Finally, I say, we have to leave you with a memory of your holiday, and that's when we look at the picture on their phone, and they'll see the Polaroid has the Eiffel Tower. But I want to add one or two more things to make this into a longer routine. Do you have any ideas of more tricks that would suit this? It's a great routine, Divisham. It's a fantastic routine. So basically what we're talking about here is almost like a dream vacation type thing, right? Which very easily lends itself to kind of a confabulation type thing. So you can have a confabulation right thing, because at the moment you're picking Paris. Paris is the only force there, right? So for example, you could talk about how much money you need. You know, you're going to need some money when you get there. You could almost frame it as, you know what, I'm going to send you on a holiday. Now, there's certain aspects of this holiday that I'm going to gift you for free. Calm down. It's only in your imagination. It's not real. I'm not really going to gift you this. But let's use our imagination for a bit. There's a few different things, right? And you've already taken a picture. So there's a few different things. The first part is where we're going to go. So, and I'll leave the force to you, but the first part is where we're going to go, okay? So they've forced Paris. The second part is how much money I'm going to give you when you get there, okay? So how much money are you going to have when you get to this place that you've picked, and you force a monetary amount, right? And then the next part might be, okay, when you get there, I'm going to let you stay in any hotel. Which hotel do you want to stay in? It's completely up to you. You can stay in any hotel you want to. So you've got a hotel name revelation there. And then you could have, You're going to be there with a celebrity. What celebrity are you going to hang out with when you're in there? So you've got all these elements. Now, a typical confabulation would be you revealing one prediction. I knew you were going to stay at the Radisson in Paris with Tom Cruise, and you were going to get £100,000 or whatever the case may be, right? But you can break those down into individual routines at that point. So you've forced all this information. Let's say you forced Vegas, for argument's sake. Let's say you forced Vegas instead. Who are they? Alakazam have a brilliant routine. I can't remember the name of it, but they basically predict a room key. So they've got a Vegas version and a worldwide version. But the Vegas version, they bring out loads of different room keys, and all of them are different from some of the biggest hotels in Vegas. And they pick one, and they're able to force you onto the prediction that they've made right at the very beginning. So you could use that trick, for example, to both force the hotel and also reveal the hotel. I like the thumb tip thing, but you could use instant paper to money, and instead of using pieces of magazine paper, you could make it up so it's like it's like I don't know, some sort of thing that they have to sign in order to get taken to on the competition or whatever the case may be, or terms and conditions or something. It could be something like that, and boom, that's the money. You could do like a revelation of the money. Like, for example, you could have a credit card on the table, and on the other side it's got the spending limit, and the spending limit is the correct amount. It's printed on there, and it's the correct amount because you forced the amount of money that they were going to have. So you could have a single one-off credit card printed with the total amount of money on the other side, saying the spending limit for this card is blah. And then all of these elements come together. You could even, if you wanted to, once you've done all these different moments and you've got the prediction on the phone and so on and so forth, you could have a final prediction of you standing in Las Vegas holding a bag of money with the amount on at the front, and having all those elements, maybe standing next to Tom Cruise. AI could create this, or somebody could create this very, very easily. But doing something like that would work well. That would be a really good thing to do. But yeah, Dream Vacation is a very popular plot. It's been around for years. That'll give you a few ideas. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's a fantastic idea. I love the premise. I really do. I think it's great. So carry on working on it. And I think you are right. I think the finale has to be the thing on their phone, because they will forget about that. And I love the use of that and saying, hey, we're going to give you a memento that you can keep forever. So really good work. Build it up and keep working on it, and it's going to be amazing. Okay, so the next question is from Yuri, who says, hi, Craig. How you doing? I'm very good, mate. How are you? Been a while since I asked a question through these videos. I've also got happy news since I got engaged recently to my girlfriend of over 4 years. Congratulations, man. That's amazing. Do you need a magician for your wedding? Come after me. Anyway, I've got 2 questions I hope you can answer. Right, let's take them one at a time. Number 1, I'm listening to the different magic podcasts, including Desert Island Tricks from Alakazam. I was wondering when and if you would participate. I'm dying to hear your list of 8 tricks, 1 book and 1 non-magic item every week. I'm waiting in full anticipation to see your name pop up in the title. It's my fault, really. Jamie has reached out to me probably a dozen times asking me to do that, and I just haven't had time. He's busy, I'm busy, and our calendars haven't exactly meshed, so it's not been something that I've been able to do yet. I say yet because I definitely want to do it. I 100% want to do Desert Island Tricks. I'm a big fan of Jamie's, big fan of Alakazam, as you know, and it's something that I definitely want to do. I just haven't had time yet. So it's going to happen. Not too sure when, but at some point I'll make my calendar mesh with the guys at Alakazam, and we'll make it. Okay, so we have another question from Yuri. Number 2, as for a completely different topic, I was wondering, when you go to gigs and you're in restaurants and such, what do you look for before approaching people? Like, do you just approach anyone you see, or there are certain rules or clues you look for that decide whether you approach them or not? As always, thanks for all the hard work, and you never fail to put out in this community. You're more than welcome. And that is a very good question. Realistically, I'm looking for a few different factors. So I'm looking for people that are looking like they're having a good time. You know, I'm looking for people that look like they're enjoying themselves and they're having a good time. You sometimes see people that are deep in conversation, right? They're going to be in a business. I'm talking about restaurants specifically here. You're talking about, you know, they've got laptops open and they're obviously discussing a work thing. Those are people that I will typically give a wide berth to, because I don't want to interrupt them. It's obvious they're in the middle of a business meeting. If I see two people that are having a very intense conversation and I can see it's an intense conversation, I will not go over to them as well. I'll also keep track of when people have come into the restaurant, because what you don't want to do is be there, or you want to try and avoid being there when the food comes out. So I'll be clocking people. Let's say, you know, I don't really do restaurants as much these days, but when I was doing them on a very regular basis, I would watch for when people were coming back from the till, because I know when they were coming back from the till, they'd have about 15 to 20 minutes before their food came out. So if I left it too much after that, I probably would be in the middle of a set by the time they came over. Now, it's not an exact science, and sometimes that happened, but a lot of the time I would try to make it so that I would go and perform to the table pretty much after they'd finished eating. The other thing is, a lot of the restaurants I used to work in, they want things turned around as quickly as possible. So I would not perform to a group of people until they had ordered their food. And the reason for that is I didn't want to walk over to a table, spend 10, 15 minutes at a table, and they still haven't ordered their food, because I knew that that restaurant would want to turn that table around as much as possible. For the same reason, I wouldn't go up to that table after they'd finished their desserts, because I know they want those people out of the restaurant or into the bar area so they can turn that table around. So those sort of factors would be taken into consideration as well. I've got a friend who, I think I've told this on the Q&A before. He doesn't do magic anymore, and he doesn't even live in this country. But I spent a long time, many, many years ago, about 20 years ago, hanging out with him. And we did a lot of gigs together. And he had a residency. And had a residency every single week at this particular venue. It was a Friday night. And he was very, what's the word I'm looking for? His attitude was he would approach everybody, and he had this very forceful way of getting them to see magic. He had that kind of personality where it was very difficult to say no to him. I've never wanted that. I'll tell you why that was a bad idea in a minute, but my point here is, I want to give people an out. I only want them to see magic if they want to see magic, especially in a restaurant environment. So when I go over to the table, I'll be like, hey, my name's Craig. I'm the magician. It's my job to come around and do magic for you guys. Would you like to see a quick trick? How does that feel? Or something like that. I want to make it very easy for them to say, no, we're busy, or whatever the case may be. This is how long ago it was with this friend. I had another friend, a girl, who worked at Blockbuster Video. And I was in Blockbuster on the Saturday. And I was chatting to her, and she said, I've had a horrible experience. I was in the, and she said the name of the restaurant. So I knew it was, and the night before, I knew it was my friend's venue where he worked. I was like, all right. I didn't let on. I was like, all right. She went, yeah, I was breaking up with my boyfriend, and I just got to the point where I was saying to him, we can't do this anymore. And I was just about to dump him, and this magician came over and just kind of basically started performing, and I couldn't really say no. And it was the most awkward 15 minutes of my life, because he just wouldn't go away. He kept doing another trick and another trick and another trick. And it was so awkward, because he knew what was coming and I knew what was coming. And it was kind of like we were just in this state of limbo for 15 minutes, and it was horrible. And I knew exactly what she was talking about. And that's the most important thing. You have to be aware of the situation. You have to be aware that sometimes it's very difficult for people to say no. So you want to make it very easy, especially in a restaurant, for people to say no, because they might have something else going on. And typically in a restaurant, you've got a million other things that you can be getting on with as well. So there you go. That's some tips on that. Hopefully that helps. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so the next question is from Justin Hutchins, who says, hi Craig, hope you're well. Yes, I am, thank you, Justin. Hope you are. I've always liked the idea of doing a 5-card poker deal. I especially like your idea with cheetah chips. With the prediction, it's probably my favourite version. But the one massive thing that has always bothered me is the selection of the last 2 cards or chips. Every version I've seen looks like you're making the decision for them, especially when it looks so fair to that point. What do you think is the fairest way to deal with the last 2 chips or cards? Please help so I can start doing this trick and get over all the hate I have for the ending of the trick. I understand what you mean. You're talking about the original Paul Gordon sort of 10 card poker that I used in cheater chips, and there's a few other people that have used it as well, including Cloak by Chris Congreve. The best way to deal with it, and the way that you can deal with it 99% of the time, is if you think about the structure, and I'm trying to be very non-exposory, if that makes sense. So I'm going to say things to you that hopefully you'll understand, as you know the trick we're talking about, and anybody else who knows the trick we're talking about will know what I mean. So you have 5 and 5, and they pick one for them. They pick one for them, and then they pick 2 more for them. Then they pick 1 for you. Then they pick 2 more for you. Right? That's the structure. It's 1, 2. And then 1, 2 in the other direction. So you're left with 4 chips in play. 6 have been distributed. You're left with 2 in play. Typically, what you do is you then put the next 2 down and you say, pick 1 for you. You put the next 2 down and you pick 1 for me. And then you're left with those last 2 chips, right? So when you get to the 4 chips that are left, put 2 down and say to them, now it's your choice right now. Do you want one of those chips, or do you want both of them? Now, I will say 70% of the time, they will say both of them, because that's not an option they've been given up until this point, and it's kind of an interesting thing for them to say. If they say both of them, you just go, okay, take both of them, and those 2 will be for me, and you're done. You don't have to worry about that final chip. If, however, they say one of them, you then take the next 2 and you say, same question, would you like one of them for me, or shall I have both of them? Now, most people, if they say no, I want one of them on the previous phase, when you give them the option of 2 on this phase, they'll say, yes, I'll have both of them. I would say, and I'm not exaggerating this, 99% of the time, you will get to the point where either they will have both of them, in which case you take the last 2, they have 1, but then they give both of the other 2 to you, which means the last one goes to them. That'll happen 99% of the time. It's very rare that won't happen. If it doesn't happen, you're left in the same scenario where you've got 2 left on the table and you have to kind of, just basically get out of it that way. But that's rare doing this technique. Now, the other thing that you can do when you've got 2 left, assuming you know which one's which and which one's where it's meant to go, is do some very ambiguous Q&A. On cheater chips, I tell you to just say stop anytime you want to and just deal them on the table. But what you can do is you can say, look, one final choice, 1 for me, 1 for you. Pick one up. So they pick one up. And if that's the one you want them to have, you go, are you sure? And they go, yeah. And you slide the other one towards you. If they pick up the one for you, without skipping a beat, you just reach over and take it. And you go, are you sure? And they go, yeah. And then you slide the other one to them. And that way, that deals with that last chip. But it's very ambiguous. But it's ambiguous, but it doesn't feel like equivoque, if that makes sense. It's like, look, one last choice, 1 for you, 1 for me. Pick one up. You sure? Fantastic. So that's a few different things that you can try. Hopefully that makes sense. I tried to make it non-exposury, so hopefully you understood what I meant. If not, ask down below and I'll get to it again next week. But that should answer and solve every problem you have with that. Okay, so the next question is from Standard. Hello, Andreas. How are you? Hi, Craig. Hope you're doing great. I am. Thank you, my friend. Good to see you the other day. This week's question is more of a challenge or an idea for a 5x5. What would be your favorite set of tricks using a normal deck in a normal card box that would do a 10 or a 15-minute routine? The deck needs to stay intact and immediately reset to advance to the next group. You're allowed to have 1 double backer included, inside or under the cellophane. Sound interesting? Engage. Okay. I'll try and do that. I haven't got a double backer on me. I'll try while I'm here in the UK. Been traveling too much. While I'm here in Blackpool, I'll put a 15-minute act together using those parameters, and I'll teach it. I'll teach the whole thing, and we'll do it as a 5x5. We'll start with a 15-minute performance, and then I'll teach it, and I'll try and include the double backer as much as possible in the act. And it'll just be a regular deck outside of that, and we'll do a 15-minute performance structured with a strong beginning, middle, and end, and then I'll teach the whole thing. Okay? If I can't do it while I'm in Blackpool, I'll do it as soon as I get back from Blackpool. How's that? Okay, so the next question is from the Cyber Medium. How are you, my friend? I hope you're well, Andrew. If you arrive at a banqueting table and you find a big effing tree in the middle of your table, last week's video, which obscures the way people on the other side of the forest, what do you do to engage the whole table? Well, that's a very good question. A lot of the time, these centerpieces are movable. Okay, not always. Sometimes you've got like this ridiculous big ornate thing, but a lot of the time they're movable. So whenever possible, if I can move it, I will move it. If people can't see me on the other side. And I use the same premise that David Penn uses. I remember David Penn teaching me this years ago. He said, when you go over to a table, you need to get close to the table. If everyone's jammed together and you can't get close to them, you go to two people and you say, can you move that way slightly? Can you move that way slightly? That way everybody can see what I'm doing. And they're not going to say no, because that would be impolite to the rest of the table. And so they move and you're able to take your position. You can do the same thing with a centerpiece. So you can say, I'm just going to temporarily move this and put this over here. That way everybody can see the performance. I wouldn't want you guys at the back of the table in the cheap seats missing out. And I make a joke of it and we all laugh at my bad jokes. And then we move on with the actual performance. So that is one way of doing it. And that works absolutely fine. If there's no way to move the tree, if there's no way to move the bush, what I'll do is I'll perform, but I'll kind of do this so I can kind of engage those people, and I'll try to do magic that's maybe not as visual. So what I mean by that is, and the perfect example is Toxic Plus, where you're getting people to follow along on their phone, and they end up with a phone number that, they end up with a number which is today's date of birth, for example. Okay, that's a very common trick. I will sometimes do that. Because they don't have to look at me. As long as they can hear me, they don't have to look at me. And they need to look at their phone and listen to what I say, so they're still going to have the magic happen in front of them. The atomic deck is another perfect example of that. Most of the atomic deck routine that I do on a big table is them looking at their phones and deciding on a card and a number, right? And then the rest of it, I can just make sure I show everyone the card when I've actually gone to the final bit. So that's the other thing that you can do. And then if you do a multi-phase routine where there's lots of phases, you can move around the table as you're doing these different phases so everyone gets a chance to see. So for example, one of my favorite tricks to do in that sort of environment is fiber optics. I love fiber optics. I do it all of the time. And fiber optics is, and I also do the, Nightmare Recharged version as well. I do Nightmare Recharged. And the same concept. If I stand and walk around the table at various different points, you're going to be able to see that a lot better. And those multi-phase routines do lend themselves to being able to do stuff like that, because I can start here, then move over here, and I'm going straight from one phase into another phase into another phase. So that's some ideas of how to do that. Hopefully that helps, my friend. Right, the next question is from Nick Magic, who says, first of all, thanks for the videos and the constant supplies of great ideas and good energy. You are more than welcome. Second, a comment regarding the hypnosis question. I am a doctor and a professional medical hypnotist, so I can report that in fact hypnosis works. Something like gluing your hand to the table or your thigh is just a convincer. It's an example to show what is possible, and here's the but. Or the if the person is willing to commit. If that's what's happening is okay with that person, otherwise it won't work. Basically, every operation, even a cesarean section or a major dental work, has been performed in just hypnosis, without any amnesia. But it needs a good understanding between the surgeon, the hypnotist, and the patient, and it needs preparation. On the magic use of hypnosis, it can and sometimes it does work, but most hypnotists rely on pre-show and dual reality. And I think it's really questionable if one should perform something which is basically a medical procedure for entertainment, because in some rare cases, the hypnosis can trigger flashbacks or PTSD or cause some other mental or emotional problems to surface, and I don't think that the entertaining hypnotist is prepared for that. Side note, in Norway, hypnosis shows have been banned from entertainment since 1916 for that very reason. If there are further questions, send me a message. I see a lot of replies. I'm not going to get into the replies at all. I just want to say thanks for posting that. I know nothing about hypnosis. I have friends that are hypnotists, and they make a very good living from it. And, I know that there's lots of hypnotists, that do really well. It's just not something that's appealed to me. I will take your word for it as a professional hypnotist, and I'm not. I'll take your word for it. All I can say is my kind of dealings with hypnotists have been kind of more of a dual reality situation. But I appreciate your comment. Thanks very much. And thank you for checking out the channel. Okay, the next question is from Michael A.S. Farrow, who says, "Hi Craig, do you have any videos about releasing products? Can you give us any advice on going to a magic production company as someone who is young and not approached by a company before? Not approached a company before. Thanks for all you do, Michael." I have done lots of videos on this in the past, and it's actually something that keeps coming up again and again, and I always think of more things to say. Look, here's the thing. I'm going to succinct it down into about 2 minutes, which is impossible for me because I natter and natter and natter. The single most important thing to understand, and I talked about this earlier in this very video about entertainment agencies being businesses, right? And they have a business that they have to run. Here's the thing about a magic production company. They are a business, whether it's Penguin, whether it's Alakazam, it's Vanishing Ink, it's TCC, it's Illusionist, whatever it is, whichever production company we're talking about, they are a business. And they may love the art of magic, they may love magic, but they are here to make a business. They have staff, they have bills to pay, they have expenses, and without making money, they are not going to be in business very long. So because they are a business, when somebody approaches them for an idea, if you want that business, if you want that production company to go, "Yes, Michael, we will produce this," you want to make it very easy for them to say yes. The way to make it very easy for them to say yes is by having a brand around you, having a following. If you go to them and you're nobody and nobody's heard of you before, that's a big minus point against you, because it means that they have to now market you, and they have to market everything about the trick and about you. If you go to a production company and you spent the last year or 2 years developing a reputation in this industry as a creator or an influencer or a performer, now all of a sudden they have something that they can latch onto, right? So, and this advice is what I gave to Chris James years ago when he started creating magic, which is put yourself out there, create an Instagram account, create a Facebook account, create a YouTube account, and put yourself out there. Put as many videos out as you can. Do something, buy tricks and put your own handlings of tricks out there. Tag in these production companies. Build up a tribe of people that are saying, "Oh, I love your videos, they're really great. Oh, I love your videos, they're really great." Put yourself out there and let as many people know who you are. Then show people that you're a good creator. Take a trick, get a Penguin partner program going and put a trick up for free. Don't charge for it, and then get everybody to download it, and all you ask for in return is a review. Chris did that with Pop Wild. He got like 100 5-star reviews or something, which made it very easy for him to then go to a production company and say, "Hey, do you want to produce my trick? I've just put this out for free and I've got 100 5-star reviews. And by the way, look at my views on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all these different places." You want to put yourself out there, because if you go to a production company and you're a nobody and you're a nothing, that's fine. It's not like they're not going to say no or yes based purely on the information. But having a brand or having people aware of you is a big tick, right? It's a bit like Magic TV. You know, I put videos out on Magic TV all of the time. There's a lot of people that watch this channel, 20-odd thousand subscribers, right? So when I bring a trick out, a lot of people are going to be aware of what that trick is, because I've got a platform that I can talk about this trick to. Production companies know that. They know that when I bring a trick out, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to get excited about it. I'm going to talk about it on this channel, and everybody who follows me will listen to that video. I'll have thousands of views on it, right? Look at the Savant deck. Perfect example. Latest trick that came out. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's talking about it because I was talking about it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, when you pitch a production company, make sure that it's a very simple, quick pitch. They don't have time for a half-an-hour video. Keep it succinct and short. Keep it like a couple of minutes. Do a quick performance to camera and then explain what it is. This is not the time for a lengthy tutorial. And yes, that's coming from me, but this is not the time for a lengthy tutorial. This is a time for you to just say, this is what the trick, this is what it does, this is why it's unique to anything else, this is why I think you should go for it. And then don't give up, because you're going to get no's. You're going to get no's, you're going to get no's. Look at David Jonathan, one of the top creators in the industry as far as I'm concerned, at the top of his game. David Jonathan is, by any definition, amazing, right? Now, here's the thing about David Jonathan. Every single production company that he went to said no to Snaps. Snaps is one of the best-selling tricks of all time at Penguin Magic. They said yes to him, but if he'd have just gone and sent it out to a couple of people and they'd have said no, he wouldn't have got anywhere. The reason he got somewhere with it is because he never gave up. He carried on pushing it out there. So, there's other videos, there's other things we can talk about, but the most important thing is build up a profile, build up a brand, get everyone to know who you are, have a really good trick, test it in the real world, make sure it works, put a very simple, quick video together, send it out to as many people as possible, and never give. Okay, so the next question is from A Vengeance, who says, thanks, Craig, we'll definitely learn all the effects, but I have to say, Cheat is my personal favorite. You're talking about cheater chips, aren't you? Cheat is amazing. When I came up with the idea of doing basically a witch hand routine, but without any electronics, and just, I was so happy with that. And you know what? That's one of those tricks that it's towards the end of quite a long tutorial, and a lot of people overlook it, and it is probably the best trick on the project. And so many people overlook it because by that point, they just think it's like, okay, all right, I'm on trick number 16. Oh my God, what's coming next? But, you know, the ability to, at any point, do a witch hand routine over and over again and predict the results, all through using just 4 poker chips. Yeah, I agree with you. It's amazing. Anyway, right, question. When will the new tutorial of the Savant deck by the Mystery Magician be released? Ha ha ha, waiting for that. I had a message from Murphy's. I'm in a Savant deck WhatsApp group with all of the big wigs at Murphy's Magic. And I asked them this question last night. And I believe it's going to be this week or next week. We're going to be announcing all of the new footage. It's an extra 2-hour masterclass by one of the biggest names in Magic. And I cannot wait. You'll know when it's coming. I will definitely do a video, even if I'm in the middle of teching Ryland's show. When I get that WhatsApp, I'll be like, sorry, Ry, press your remote controls yourself. I got a video to film. So yeah, it's coming soon. I can't be more excited about it. Jeff Witchley says, Magical Masturbation was my stage name for a while. Got some very odd bookings. You know what? I'd like to see that show. I would love to see what's going on in that show. That would be hilarious, right? I'm not going to say anything else. I get myself in trouble. But you do you, my friend. You do you. Okay, Splattered says the timestamps from last week's Q&A are from last week's Q&A if anyone is confused. I'm so sorry, Splattered. Me and the office are so against it right now. Like I say, I'm on the road. I'd normally be filming this in the office. And Michael, we're currently redoing all of the automation in the companies within the company. And normally me and Michael would do it together, or he would be doing one bit, I would be doing the other bit. And it's really important this automation's done, and we've got to get it's got to be done by a certain point because of this thing that's happening. So we're very busy with my actual job. And I'm not there, I'm here in Blackpool, and I'm trying to do what I can. So I know there's been a couple of times where things have gone a bit awry because he's trying to edit stuff and get stuff up onto Magic TV. But at the same time, we've got a lot of stuff to do behind the scenes with other aspects of other companies that I run. So if we got the timestamps wrong, I'm very sorry. And I will try to make sure that me and Michael get it right from now on. Okay, so the next question is from Real Radical, who says, Hi, Craig. Thanks for answering my questions. You told me to repost this question about the Hammond Count. So here it is. Looking forward to seeing your video. May I send you a video of me doing the count? Absolutely, buddy. Send it to info@Magic TV. Copy in Craig at Magic TV. I'll have a look at the video for you. I don't have a pack of cards with me because I am in Blackpool. However, I do have a pack of cards. It's just not a real pack. And I'm giving something away by showing you this. But these are the long-awaited gimmicks for Nicholas Mavresis' Poison 2. Shocker. I know, yeah, this is Poison 2. Right here. Look, I'll prove it to you. Poison 2. Poison 2. I'm doing some extra tutorial for it, and I'm doing the live performances, and I'm doing some extra content for the tutorial as well for Alakazam. So these are the only cards I have with me where I'm sitting right now. But they are normal cards, so to speak. And we've got 10 of them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I turn 5 of them over, there we go, like this. So I've got 5 face up and 5 face down, right? So the Hammond Count should look like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a Hammond Count. So you would do it. So let me show you. So you do it like this. If I was showing these cards, I'd say, look, I want to show you something with these cards. They've got pick a drink on it, as you can see. And these cards, well, you can see that they're all face down. That's what's important, right? So a couple of things on this. First of all, the tempo is important. So you're doing the switch, 1, 2, 3, 4. In this case, I'm showing 9 cards when in actual fact there's 10. And I'm doing the switch on number 5, right? So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the first thing is the tempo is very important. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. The tempo is really important. You don't want to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to make sure that the tempo is the same. You can do it fast or you can do it slow, but keep the tempo the same, right? The next thing I'll say is don't point the edge to the audience, because it doesn't matter how good you are at this. If you have them looking like this, they're going to see the switch. So instead, have them looking down. So if you're in a walk around setting, looking down is easy. If I'm sitting at a table and they're opposite me on the table, I'll tilt the cards up like this a little bit, so they're looking at the backs of the cards. But it's really important that you do that, because if you do that, there's there's no chance of seeing the switch, if that kind of makes sense. Now, the other thing is the books, and it's been a long time since I learned the Hammond Count. The books will tell you to hold it here between the middle finger and the ring finger. I hold it with just the ring finger. I start with the middle finger and the ring finger, but I move the middle finger out the way, and I'm just holding it with the ring finger an awful lot of the time. So when I come and do the switch, as you can see, it becomes, no, I'm holding it with the ring finger. No, sorry, I'm not. I'm holding it with, see, I've done this so many times, I don't know. I'm holding it with just the middle finger, not with the ring finger, sorry. So I'm holding it with just one, as you can see. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that means that the ring finger can come in and take that like that. And as I come out, I'm back switched to the middle finger, right? Like that. So the whole thing altogether is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the other thing is, don't count them. I tend to show the cards almost like a patchery thing. So I go, look, I'm going to show you something with these cards. Now, these are called pick a drink cards. And the reason they're called pick a drink cards is because they've all got pick a drink on them, as you can see. Now, if you struggle with the switch, and some people do struggle with the switch, and that's the thing that you need to practice, you can slow that switch down by talking about the backs of the cards when you do the switch. So that would look like this. Look, I've got these cards here, right? And they've all got pick a drink on them. Can you see that? Every single one of them, whoops, don't do that. Every single one of them has got pick a drink on them. And they're all exactly the same, and see, they're all face down. So let's try and do that without dropping the cards. So I've got these cards here, and they're called pick a drink cards. The reason they're called pick a drink cards is because they've all got pick a drink on them, as you can see. But they're all face down. Every single one of them is the same. I'm going to try and do something with that. Boom. So that's really, there's nothing else I can really say about that. That's all you really need to know. I've got nothing else to say. It's a very useful move to do. It does take a lot of practice. It's one of those trick moves that you can do easily, but practice makes it better. And the most important thing is to practice the tempo, practice the switch. So hopefully that helps. Send me the video. If you've got any other questions, let me know. Okay, so the final question today is from Divishan, who says, do you know any moves where you can have a coin in Classic Palm and move another coin into Classic Palm to join it, but without making noise? If you can demonstrate and teach it now. I haven't got any coins on me right now, Divishan, so I can't, no. But here's what I want you to do. I will definitely do it for next Sunday. So just like the chap with the Hammond Count did, do me a favour, ask me the question again on next week's Q&A, and I promise you I will get to it next week. But you're going to have to ask me the question. If you don't ask me the question, I will be honest with you, I will forget. So ask me the question on next week's Q&A and I will get to it, okay? What you're looking for is a soft palm. So you're looking to Classic Palm a coin, and then you're looking to Classic Palm the next coin, but secretly. And the way you do it is, imagine I've got a coin in Classic Palm here. I hold the other one here, and I'm going to move the coin along the mound of Venus, and then it slowly goes onto that coin. Being able to master the ability to classic palm multiple coins really kind of opens up the door to more advanced coin magic. So it's definitely a question you should ask, and it's definitely a question I could help with, but just ask it next week and I'll promise I'll get to it. So there you go, guys. That's another video in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me here on Magic TV. Now, don't forget, you want to see more videos like this, all you got to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to join the Netrix, which is the Netrix.com. It's my online streaming platform for magicians. Thousands of tricks up on there, hundreds of Q&As and VMCs and God knows what. So if you want to join the Netrix and be with the cool kids, please do so. I will be back again next week with another Q&A. I'm going to be back tonight with a review show special. Until then, thank you so much for watching. My name's Craig, and as always, this has been Magic TV.